Alright guys, I feel like I've vaguely talked about this, but some people ask what would I change about Kai if I was going to change anything about Kai in this game, right? Or maybe just Guilty Gear in general, so I'll talk about that. And I've said before, I feel like, there's a danger in progression in games, and even morally speaking, and I know it's weird to talk about things more like from a moral standpoint when we're talking about a video game, but when I think about like design philosophy and everything like that, Kai is a weird character to me, and that there are certain concepts, design philosophy wise, he doesn't actually morally work for me. He kind of runs that fine line of I think he works really well, and he sort of morally bothers me because as you progress games, there is a chance for certain characters, archetypes, and unique factors to kind of start to blend into other characters, and it makes characters start to not feel quite as special. And I think even looking at a game like this, even though this is an older game, and of course I know I say a lot of good things about Guilty Gear, but that's not that I think that Guilty Gear is even necessarily better than Street Fighter, but I do think when you look at Kai even in this game, I think you can not just subjectively, but objectively, I think there is a fine line of almost a line of thinking that maybe he's a little oversaturated, right? He almost feels oversaturated sometimes to me when I look at him from a design standpoint, but he works, so I try to let it slide because I do think he's kind of fun. So how would I change Kai? What are some things I think they should do if I was ever making my own Guilty Gear? Well, I would really, I think, as much as I talk shit about Xrd and Strive, I would really, I think it's a good opportunity, that whole shock state, biri juden, whatever, juden jotai, is that what they call it in Japanese? I think they're calling it shock state in English, but juden jotai, maybe. I forget whatever the Japanese stream I was watching, but that shock state, all that kind of stuff, and a little bit of the Xrd, is it called split seal or something like that? How you can like have an enhanced versions of his fireballs. I think you could add that to this Kai. And again, one of the great things about a game is again, as much as I talk shit about Strive and stuff like that, the whole idea of a shock state, whatever, electrified effect, no one else has to have that in a game, in any other Guilty Gear character, right? So it automatically makes Kai unique, and I think that is a good idea that they should roll with. And I would actually do a mix of maybe this shock state and the Xrd split seal thing. So what you could do is, I think, Kai's dust isn't like it is in Xrd, right? But, give him his Xrd dust where he puts up a little, I call them stillborns because I think it's funny. I call things weird names, so that's a dust. I just call that dust, and I call that stillborn. I always call that move stillborn because its life shines so brightly, but it died very quick. So that's my funny name for that. I call those stillborns. A bright life that died too quickly. Anyway, stillborn. So anyway, the point is, give him his dust like that. I wouldn't give Kai his, Kai has that kind of like palm thrust strike where he puts out a seal. You know what? Give Kai his fucking, just the Strive move where he clubs you over the head. Give him that. But when he does that, when he slashes with his sword, it makes that little magic rune symbol, right? So add those three things, whatever, from the dust, and replace, palm strike with the Strive little club you over the head thing. Have it put out a magic symbol. And then whenever you do magic symbols of fireballs and they hit the guy, that causes a electrified state, right? Okay, so like mix and match the ideas together, right? So that would cause an electrified state. I would say any EX move causes an electrified state if you block it. Like if you block that, that's an electrified state. If you block that, that's an electrified state. You could also add it to his super fireball, and even, this EX lightsaber, if you block that, it makes the guy with an electrified state. And of course the big club you over the head, right? So you're sort of mixing and matching those ideas, and I think that's interesting because, again, that's one of the only things that's actually progressive about the game. And I think that's actually a good idea as much as I talk about shit about this other thing. So mix those two ideas together. And then what would I actually do for the shock state? Well, I think something fun you could do too, although I'm talking about I think it's good in games when you have mechanics that can teach the player about the game, right? So I would actually say as well, personally, I think when the opponent FDs, whenever the opponent FDs, I think since we're giving Kai multiple ways to give you a shock effect, you know what I mean? I think that it should not cause the shock effect, actually. So the reason, my theory for that is because, again, I always talk about it's good when there's characters in the narrative that actually help you learn a game. And if you actually give Kai unique abilities that also then to combat his unique abilities, you have to learn the game system, it's a double win. So, again, we have all these different attributes of Kai that can cause a shock effect. We're mixing and mashing XR and Strive. But if you were to FD any of this shit, and of course, like I said, when you do the fireball through the split seal, whatever it's called, I would make it like a full screen laser beam. And even that, maybe, you know, just Justice is a bad matchup for Kai in this game. So when you do that, maybe that actually goes through a Justice fireball. So, you know, you're kind of helping some bad matchups as well. But again, you're learning about the game because then you don't want to be in the shock effect. And to help a very beginner player almost step by step, besides FD pushing the guy away, you also see that FD makes it so these shock effects don't happen on you, or it doesn't or originally give it to you. I think that's actually a really good idea of mixing those together. And then what would the shock state effects do? Well, you know what I mean? I would take it a step further too. Maybe it lasts for, once the guy actually gets hit by something, it goes away, right? Not like blocking wise or anything, but once it goes away. And I would say, I would actually then, again, since we're giving you so many ways to go into it, I would take a step further, and let me just make sure this is still recording. I would take that a step further and say, hey, maybe it's hard slash, right? Hard slash, it has another +2 on block, so it's +3, I think it is, whatever. Again, I'm not a frame data nerd, but I think that's what it is. And then if it was on hit, it would also be +2. I also think you could make it, hey, maybe this does a chip of block damage now, right? His forward hard slash, maybe add that, another +2 to hit and block, right? Something like that. His fireball, what I would do for something like fireball, you see how these don't do block damage? When you're in the shock effect state, maybe this does another +1, and it actually does some guard meter to build up your guard meter. So both ones, they both do another 1+ frame on block, 1+ frame on hit, and then of course if it actually hits the guy, then it goes away after that. But something like that, and it's actually doing block damage. Stuff like this, you know, this was toned down in past games from this. I would say make this move do another frame of hit stun and another frame of block stun, and it actually does hard stun like before. So that actually does a little bit more stun. Big fireball, I think this is a level 3 move in this game, so besides it doing, you know, now block damage as well, make this go back to a level 5 when it's in that, right? Make this, I think this move already might be a level 5, so make this one of these moves, I guess, you know what I mean? Fiddle with it, give Kai a lot of weird shit like that, you know what I mean? I also think you could have this cause the shock effect. You know, lightning strike causes shock effect. And then another thing you could do, if, you know, kind of like working ways to mix and match like the shock effect thing, because I think, again, it's a good idea. Then maybe if this actually hits on a shock effect, the guy actually bounces up so you can get a combo. Lightsaber, this move, you know, it's not that great. Maybe when the shock effect, so the first time they block it, it gives you a shock effect, lasts for like 5 seconds or until the guy gets hit, whatever, you know. And then once it gets hit, then it bounces the guy like it's a counter hit every time, right? Something like that. You know, so add shit like that. You know what I mean? He's now able to chip you a little bit like that. Maybe fireballs in general do a little bit more block damage. You know what I mean? This does a little bit more stun. You're giving him different ways. You know, this will do, I think this is a level 3 or a level 4 or something like that. Once you're in a shock state and the guy's blocking it, it's a level 4 for each of them or whatever the fuck it is, right? Add shit like that in because it's interesting, and it also helps make Kai, again, unique because no one else needs an effect like that. All that kind of shit. And then, of course, you have slide. You can make that, you know, more punishable, or when it hits the guy is stunned for longer, so that then that is almost guaranteed from mid-screen, whatever. But besides going off that kind of weird gimmick, which is interesting, right? fundamental things I think that should be changed for him. Add back Shinakuma. Put back in Shinakuma. I don't know why they got rid of it. Put back in Shinakuma, please. Shinakuma, it's fun. There's only a few other people besides me that ever were doing it realistically in matches. I don't know why they got rid of it, right? I know they put it back in Strive and it seems really easy, but put back in Shinakuma in this game. I think it's fun. I would make his hard DP. I don't feel like there's a big enough difference between this. I would make hard DP go higher in the air, rise higher in the air. You know what I mean? Hell, even that's a thing for Shock State. I feel like, man, if you block this with Shock State, maybe if the guy FDs this on the ground. So say when an opponent is, imagine the guy goes like that. Oh, I don't have a record button. Ah, fuck, I forgot to record that. Whatever. Imagine he jumps in the air and he FDs that. With a Shock State, maybe that causes a big stun that then the guy falls back down to the ground and they have to block and Kai's at the advantage, right? Giving a little bit of a Street Fighter-esque vibe, you know what I mean, with using DPs as anti-airs more. Another thing, I think they should add back in the invisible hit of the lightsaber, you know what I mean. I gotta purposely time it bad to make it miss. Like that would have hit, you know, back in XX. I never knew why they got rid of that. Add back in the invisible lightsaber hit. I think it's fun. It would give them a little bit more wacky mix-ups. What are some other things? I actually think, okay, let me actually set, where's the opponent? Jump, guard, right? I gotta purposely try to miss it, right? So, well, that time I didn't miss it. I'm trying to purposely miss it. Point is, the dude is engulfed in light in a rainbow lightsaber of electric death. This move is not that amazing, okay? It could have an extreme hitbox, for the love of God. Like, I know I hit it right there, but, you know, this move could have a bigger hitbox, and I think you should have to FD this move to block it in the air. This move you should have to FD block, right? I'm sorry. FD block that shit in the air, right? Give him another ghetto kind of anti-air. Something else, too. What else? We can set him to block, so I don't want to keep hitting his ass all over the place, but I'm not a big fan of this big strike. First of all, it's ugly as fuck. So for the love of God, give that a better animation. You know what I'd honestly change that to? You know Kai's instant kill in Xrd, where he kind of does a ninja dash and he flies on the other side and he stabs you. I honestly would just say, instead of this stupid slash, make him do kind of an Xrd instant kill thing where he does a ninja dash, he flies on the other side, the guy then falls down and is staggered. And if you have the electric effect, because, well, you just hit this move, then you can run in and combo, and you get a combo. I think it's much more interesting than the guy just bouncing off the wall. This move, I think that they should fucking, again, if there's a shock effect, the guy would be taking more block damage from it, whatever, but I think this move should pop the guy up higher. I know that was one of the ways that Kai was actually toned down randomly in some ways in this game, and this move makes the guy fly higher or less up in the air. I think it should do it back to how it was before. Change that. Anything else? Take away the damage buffer from this move. I don't think they should have put the damage buffer on this move in this game. Get rid of that. Put it back to how it was. Am I missing anything? If I was going to take away anything, I'm actually not a big fan of Kai's FRC throw. You know what I mean? I feel like it feels really oversaturated, and I guess I'm making him even more saturated from a certain perspective, but I think to make it more interesting, instead of giving Kai an FRC throw, you could give him just an EX throw and make him do his instant kill from the original Guilty Gear. You know when he throws you and he does a cross slash and it makes a cross? Instead of giving Kai this, you know, EX throw or an FRC throw, you know, I know this kind of tones him down, but I'm fine with it because I think it makes you more interesting. Give him just an EX command grab where he does a little throwback to his instant kill from Guilty Gear, right? I know it's actually toned down when you think about it like that then, but I just think it seems more fun. And I think I'm missing something about it, something else I would change from him. I do think this move should be more unpunishable too. I think it should I actually think, you know what? I'm going to sound really wacky here. I wish it created just at least a visual effect You know, like Squall's blasting zone from Final Fantasy VIII, how it did like a little rainbow effect on the ground? I think aesthetically speaking, that would be cool if that caused like a little crevice in the ground after you do it, like a little rainbow laser beam crevice. I think that would look interesting. I know I'm a fucking nerd. I feel like I'm missing something. What am I missing? Oh, and I guess, you know what? Because I always like his flippy slash, you know what? Give Kai his EX fit. You know, Kai in the original Guilty Gear X, he had that little crescent flip slash. I think it looks really cool, right? Maybe Kai has another force break EX move that is only in the air. And, you know, Kai has all these kind of cross-up shenanigans, whatever the fuck you're doing. Maybe he jumps like this, and then he has that flip slash. And he flips to the other side, and he slashes you, and it's a new EX move. God damn, I know I complained that Kai is oversaturated already, but we're giving him more shit, I guess, right? But, you know, like I said, he is a character that morally kind of bothers me in some ways, because I do think he's oversaturated from certain points, and other kind of moral... I don't know if I want to get into too much stuff that I would actually take away from him, because people would think I'm crazy, but trust me, part of me morally would actually take away quite a bit from him, actually. But let's not get into too much of that. Let's keep it fun. So those are some ideas I would do to Kai. I think it would make it fun. The end. Remember to support the channel, like, subscribe, fuck my titties, you get it.